sunye yenti ya tumampani John Dramani Mahama se yemye biema wo mo nanso communication ministry no ejem so omo na fo ma akoma kwaduasa se omo fa to omo nkrata yi Reverend John Nimti Fodjo so de tujwa na dem ma shebedwa fie sa ban yi ba foforo ye abusu mi siantem mama mpanyimfo military leaders wa pamu makomako 15 Minister of Defense ho eja Fodjo ya hwehwe semu ansa no ababonten ababeka kane swafo anu ohwe edwade ani fididwuma ho sam eso Dr. Kasapreko Gabra en wache se Trump eto ya wode atototo bibiman eso no sa bibiman oman ba ko yi ne ho se okko sa eto na ye de ayiro mapampam na ebe ha dwinti omu nyina enhwe na omunu omhodwa after no eno ne bebo wo mo enenso mrahye bedwafie ene edom kuma no ba no dani Yera Alexander Afumwaah Kafena or ne swafo hwe yefia mambo won sem so alaji muntaka ne mrahye bedwafie mo de bo so anu yiye bi ko so e de efa ablikuma not abato results no Essentially Manasi Azori awuni atwa petition koma Ghana mampani John Dramani Mahama se contragia Youth Employment Agency any Zoom layo ewo no chese emuna hokra katua sam contragia nanka se mo sum nanso abane de anu yi abase omoni Zoom layo contragia ne kura no ewu womo sign so ensensan bio enwe sambika worimo ana yesi hu nkomya bakenkan ni nyina ade asom ho akenkan fa woti enkan eyeme Nantini ba mame Afumwaah Kafena mene ajwa nyako abronma ye kwadwa twakwa ne so bawo ne abesom sika FM track 1 ye ne ekoro 89.5 sika FM
89.5 yes suma santimai Sika FM 89.5 yes suma santimai
ne Ghana man ye wiase nyina aka ho afei ye wura esomne mo ankasa And your mom phone you and I'm social media no so radio station ni TV stations makomako and you see me no 62 and as you for any company credo akwa tutu ni nyina mu ya ubi a wuni mu no de to abaye che FM ebe shesa adwuma bia nkoso na ni nyina enisa omu kiremu a wo mo nkrata sam ni omu niema bia zis so animu nti na wono mo atomo ane na hu nkomodi afrase bapa 62 de ane mabunu yawu enkofo wadwuma ba omo pa na adonso wo ba pam akwa tena fie sansa ye mfa company credo ma two station bi mu na station wura nka jira se enye adwuma efo ne fom so nti boso ne so abetu abka hwe no benya sikare wai no de atu abka na ade ne guso aye adwuma kura waro twa bia wo kasa kura no ahia ne ade ma wo na ya santumu ene enuanum biti atepa anya asem ketwa ne so de ya tie ne se mampare John Dramani Mahama krata fina kache ade abase ya mom nkoso anya adwuma wabra wo mon krata asem ne ade nyina da wo mo abetoto ene stations a wo mudin piepie mu de untumi wo ka ho na fe happy FM ni asase wo mu nyina ka ho bia aka 64 no bi nanso asoya bambo asoya wo mo ahwe nkitahudie na afa abafo kwan so ya honorable Samno George Dano no wo mo de ababeto dwase sessions ni de mapanisi emiema wo mo mate ombe bie de am no mato mo adwuma so ne won kata asem no mo na fo akọ aduasa na chese bosome ba akọ sa omo mfa hwe na baabi achemate wo de sase ye renew de enya ho adwuma nwie ye de ya na siesi ni ade nyina mo hwere mo keka mo niam siesi ensisi ani na wo mo hwehwe mo niam nyina pepepe enna ne kwan mo se de be ya after 30 days ni dear wo bia seri age kan wa awon krata asem ni de company credo na mo de betu kakra gbran adwuma no nya biem honorable Samno George.
Those who fail to do so shall have their authorizations formally revoked under the law. In line with this directive from His Excellency the President, the Ministry and the NCA have granted a further 30-day grace period to all defaulting entities. Mr. Speaker, this is not the same as the arbitrary revocations and hefty fines imposed under the previous administration. As the current government, the ministry has also been instructed to waive all the applicable fines that should have been applied to the defaulting entities. Mr. Speaker, since morning, I have received calls from colleagues on both sides of the aisle notifying me that some interests they may hold have been affected by the ongoing exercise. Dear honorable colleagues, we passed the laws and have a high bar set for ourselves as honorable members of this august house. We need to lead the way with exemplary conduct.
And yet, honorable Samuel Note George.
Yeah, call Rasha Bejafie, a household and a Reverend John in Tim Fodjo and never did send me to Ja. Rasha Bejafie, and some walking in a dam. And say a free say about free by ye, I got a man penny John Dramani Mahama, a dear Nimuina man penny by ye. Okwa asra for Juma Kwani Mua, Naswa Mobamba Juma Kwani Mua. Asra for penny for a Mako Dunum 15. And I was soon by where you were made Wapamu. Now, some Reverend John for Johnny to Jammer Shepherd Fear no. And I saw for was Shabama was some Minister of Defense, Dr. Edward. Omane Buama also Ebusa, Reverend John Tim for Joe on a ranking member, Ewo Defense and Interior Committee, so say a Jaffa Dre, a young number shepherd of Fianu Jana Casama Yako, who Mwansa, Wabe Janabi Bianamode. Aya manyo sam eni wo fa no kura no kota sikire na de afa ho na ayete se no kura no fa ntro na de sikire afa ho na ayese no kura propaganda no abeka gaga we mrasha we fe na Ghana fo ate na atobi masum o se se ma Reverend John Tim Fodjo eka e pasa mampanyi ba ya busu bi nsia ya wapam military leaders mako edunu mo se nya no kura e te sada e ti se Reverend John Tim Fodjo peso o ka asem bia o hwehwe mu yie onye ne hwehwemu na onya se wode bambo honsem toto from no Yera Edward Dr. Omane Buama Intieno.
Be abundantly clear, even though Reverend John Tim Fodjo alludes to the termination of all 15 major generals, 2-star and equivalent, I must state that the honorable member of parliament for Asin South got his question wrong. Respectfully, if the wrong question is not corrected, it can mislead the public. Since the cameras are here, here are the facts. Eight major generals, 2-star, had reached the point to commence their terminal leave, pending compulsory retirement. 4 major generals, 2-star, aged between 60 and 62 years, are to be released prior to their mandatory retirement age of 63, in accordance with Ghana Armed Forces regulations and precedents. Mr. Speaker, let me add, out of the 8 who had reached their 63, Major General Aveni Aite, who is among the 8, is being sponsored in the rank of Lieutenant General to compete for the high office of Military Advisor, Office of the Military Affairs of the Department of Peace Operations at the Assistant Secretary General level at the United Nations headquarters in New York, USA. Mr. Speaker, this means altogether 12 major generals, out of which 8 were due for their terminal leave prior to compulsory retirement, will be released from the service sometime in December 2025 and January 2026 for Major General Ivan Aite being appointed at the UN.
Dr. Edward Romane Buama wie yen wo chirem esan so ekasi so diade ntia mampanyi eto saa na mo wi ampanyifo bi o mo asra adwuma ni mu o mo bra so so mo pension no o mo eko pension no so chiremu sei eno de mai.
Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of transparency and accountability, I wish to account for the whereabouts of the 3 major generals because the honorable member of parliament mentioned 15. I have mentioned 8 who had gotten to the 63 compulsory retirement age and also the other number that takes you to 12. What this means is that you must account for the 3 that makes the 15. And 1, the honorable member of parliament mentioned 15. I have mentioned 8 who had gotten to the 63 compulsory retirement age and also the other number that takes you to 12. What this means is that you must account for the 3 that makes the 15. And 1. Major General Robert Afram is serving currently as Deputy Force Commander, United Nations Mission in South Sudan, UNMISS. 2. Major General Anita Asma is also serving currently as Force Commander, United Nations Disengagement Observer Force, UNDOF. And 3. Air Vice Marshal Felix Asante has been appointed as the acting president, National Defense University in Ghana. Regarding the framework, Mr. Speaker, I respectfully submit that the Commander-in-Chief is mandated by Article 212 of the 1992 Constitution to appoint the Chief of the Defense Staff and Service Chiefs acting in consultation with the Council of State. I'm happy to report that His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama complied with the mandate, and as already posited, precedents in both 2005 and 2009 support the appointment of a Brigadier General as the Chief of the Defense Staff. Mr. Speaker, let us bear in mind that the current Chief of the Defense Staff is in the same intake as the immediate past Chief of Air Staff, who is a 3-star general, and his immediate predecessor, Chief of Air Staff, who was a 2-star general. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, let me assure that this process to release the general is rooted in the relevant regulatory and historical framework of the Ghana Armed Forces to promote service efficiency as we reset Ghana and work with patriotic zeal to continue to implement measures that will safeguard the sovereignty and territorial Ghana, secure our democracy, and ensure the protection of life and property.
Dr. Edward Omanebuama, Minister of Defense, and yet Semra Shebe, the fear of being Sembe Brian Chichemu Bebre, Edifa and Semno Cosono, ye, and Reverend John in Tim Fojo, as since South Brashe Bijani, or also so what is a boy a bomb penny say, one more man yaboka. Ya boss one asia to financial loss to the state. Nina military generals no enchemuno HSM ampanyi aterminate omo contracts no and also inte.
Yes, Honorable King Fojo.
Given the minister's own response and reference to history, he has admitted and conceded that indeed this number of terminated generals is unprecedented. Now the follow-up question is, couldn't the commander-in-chief have avoided the huge financial loss to the state in terms of gratuities to be paid, in terms of training invested into the terminated generals, many of whom have even up to 2 years to retirement?
Honorable members, why can't we be tolerant?
Couldn't the commander-in-chief have avoided the huge financial loss to the state, given the unprecedented number of discharged and terminated generals per his own records, 10 in 2001, 7 in 2005, and 6 in 2009. This number per his own submission is unprecedented. Couldn't the commander-in-chief have avoided huge financial loss to the state in terms of gratuity? Yes.
Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament no and a ranking member also.
Yanta Kasere so na yengra adwadie mo na kane soafo anu ohwe adwadie ni fridwuma ho nsam eso Dr. Kasapreko Gabra wono ene de ato dwase se abibre ma aman no bia yi ni ho so eto ya Trump ede atoto wo mo eso no se ono a ebeko sa to no a ene ho yaw no nko a na wo betie ene nti wo ka che bibima nyina sa wo mo a Trump this US mampani Donald Trump this tariff na to mapampa wo nyina nkom homom na wo mo nko nte se do mo gina kono na wo mo emfa adwadi a wo mankasa di wo ho no emfa nko sa to ne yaw no no na betimi aboa wo chese bibi mo amu hanum sei yankase okwan e fa so a yedi yedwa chese na tran kase ne kro man Ghana mu na wo je friends after no Africa Continental Free Trade Area no no and now bet me at the Akosa Trump at one hour, the Iroma Pampem. Now, Unquako, you say, Minquami, be my Minquana, Mepaquia Mefaswa, Sa, a toy, Emiamaka said, we are crow pa. Dr. Kasapreko Gabra, instead.
Yes, how should Ghana respond to these gyrations from the American side? And I think the advice of my good friend, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, who is now the Director General of the World Trade Organization, actually is I guess the most appropriate. That countries should relax and observe and monitor what is happening, because, as I said, psychoanalysis, the bank can start to know, okay, all tariffs have been removed, but only Ghana and take 50% of Ghana. We can do that tomorrow, either by Twitter or by X or by whatever. And that's the policy for 5 minutes, or for 20 minutes, or 2 hours. And then the next week there was something else. So the situation is so unpredictable. The unpredictability of the policy framework of the United States is what.
Dr. Kasapreko Gabra esanso eka galamse ho asem na wachira kwan a oman sese efaso na yekono.
And where we may not know all the rare earth minerals that we have, but the ones that we know that we have, and I have pointed out one, which based on world trade practices and the pricing of commodities has shown itself gold as the most reliable export product that any country can have. That's why Ghana was called the Gold Coast by the British when we were a colony for more than 300 years. This country was known as the Gold Coast. Now if you are the Gold Coast and you happen to have gold, gold happens to also be your largest export, and over 1 or 2 million people apparently are in the so-called galamsey or gold trade, and you want to get them out of it. What is the most natural thing for them to stay within the gold trade, but not as galamseyers, but now value addition people, get them trained 3 to 6 months. Most of them can pass out at different levels of proficiency and begin some, making under the regulation of the gold board, which we have. So that's just one idea that I think we further explored going forward. But all the other ideas about cashew and cocoa, chocolate as well, obviously, and I agree, only 50% of our cocoa exports or cocoa production, which actually is much lower than it should be. We hit 1 million tons at one time a few years ago. We are now down to 500, 600,000. There are many reasons for that.
And here, I can so far share Gradian for the human some assom. Dr. Kasapreko Gabra.
And as some Russia, but your fear crow one so Dom Kumano Denny was saying Honorable Alexander Afumwaah One as was MP on when you for Muntakamu Barak Mohammed any jai. And to be an asa no ye bi ekos nyina e de efa ablekuma not about no ekoto ye afie twa mu no na ho esusanso na se de etwa ne ko ye no yenko ne nkotie.
But most importantly, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind my colleague, the minority leader, Order 88.7. Mr. Speaker, Order 88.7, and it reads: a member in asking a question shall not raise any argument. And yes, a member in asking a question shall not raise any argument. 87B, yes, Mr. Speaker, and 88.8, where a question has been asked and answered, no debate on it shall be permitted. Mr. Speaker, with a greater respect, very well, we should know that ministers should not be run into debating an argument. I've provided an answer. Very well. If you are not satisfied, you write to request for further answers. Thank you. Well noted. Yes. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I've heard Eche and I've heard Honorable Minister for Interior. Mr. Speaker, what the minister did was to object to the question. Mr. Speaker, the order 80, the order 6, the order 6, the order 6. Honorable leader. Mr. Speaker, they must be tolerant. We've heard them. Mr. Speaker, he's argued twice. This is my second. Allow me. Mr. Speaker, Eche has argued twice on the matter. Please, when I finish, fine, let it go into answer. But hear me respectfully. And they must be tolerant. Mr. Speaker, you've had your time at the dispatch board. Mr. Speaker, official publication has been defined. This is what it says. Official publication includes any publication produced by or under the authority or with the sanction of minister. Mr. Speaker, no. Minister. For him to be allowed to continue, no way. No, minister, please. No. Minister, the leader has at least 5 opportunities to ask supplementary questions. That is what. You see, leader, minister, please. You see. Honorable Minister, please be tolerant a bit for us, please. I beg of you. Yes, Honorable
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we've all seen what has just happened.
Na ese twano na nya asem ketwa. Na bese enye ishi. Yete so na bo Alexander Afenyoma Kingdom kuma no ba no de ne ne asonase muntaka omode abo ani e wo mrahye bedwefie ho.
Anto akasebo ne soyi. Sanchani Manase Azari Awuni etwere petition kwama mampani John Dramani Mahama se Zoom Lion contragia aban no enam Youth Employment Agency so enu omo no sa contract ne emu na hokra fiti contract na nkasa mo kwan Zoom Lion for enya sa contract no free aban ho eni bebesi akatua ye de ma sweepers no aso no ni nyina mu na ho emu se sum manfo aka ho asama mpo ansakura na Manase kura de ho ayi petition yakwa akoma mampani yesi bebre na sa contract no na ewo ho ni yesi abane kura Zoom Lion fo no wo mo ayepra no kura mpo no ye mo 500 so bedura se had money am 100 cities ni ho yesi de bebrebe ana Manase de koma mampani na mampani so krata afina kachia base a ababeyi sa Manase ne petition no ano ye ne se mampani John Dramani Mahama sa enya de se Youth Employment Agency any Zoom Lion contract no ebeto so bim contract ne kura ewu ne bra so ma na wu ewu ntinya de a wo mo ebeto so bim afei ensam bia wo mo ene se enya de se yakwa ni mo no sa Youth Employment Agency kwɔsensan ebia wansen ana ahunidie ho contract bia ma omede bakwa akwahya kukuam na ebia a sanitation company ba akopa bi na yesi asomese wo de beje de friends so sen bi aha ya nkwa ne saa bia ya nya ne saa frase oso obebiem saa no de abesa bonten saa na obia titiriu ani sanitation companies no se na Zoom Lion obeba bia bra any other sanitation companies e wokure mo momrai momra ne ani dwo bra pese sign contract jo obi afa ne krata amra hwana ne de ya hwana ne terms and conditions ne be miti de hwehwe no fa bato no ne ahwehwem na saudi ne betwi zu a ne atwi zu ya mfa nkoma kwa benane wo ba akofo so se wonko age debi afai krata mampani enam Dr. Callistus Mahama so de ba ani bi ene se fina koi wo mo apra no so kura asetene mu abane be fina ni no ahwe wo makatu asam no mo bibia ye be fia ni ahwem ade am wo mo se de be yankoba se o ye adwuma de na so seria na ohomabo bia enti ekire se Manase Azore awuni petition de koma Ghana mampani John Dramani Mahama no mampani so ade krata ababonten a wababeyi na no ekese contract no omo ne Zoom Lion koye no ewu omo sensan biem ekwani mo ombe sign so ombe biem na woma ye bidding competitive bidding mbro fa kakra ka omo use no ekese de beto badwa srede na obia de ne krata sema ba pese ne osan ko chiaja fa krata sembra ye hwehwemu ade ye pe na ye yi no sa na eba beko kasebo ne de si na asero ne de ma ne usum adwumayefo Kwame ofori aboaje ne afia mache na fei ye reporters nso ye do o mase ne adwumaso a wono mo ebo ye samfo ne ofadasa okoji abo kase wono sonso ma ye se ye bekai ne ya bekai siwa odabula fashion center no DJ Bullets wono na kase boyi wahwe ama wachinchim furuma ya wati ye nka ba bibia wo social media ne so de Calvin AK na nanipa me sister kunu wono na hwe social media no eso enwumra kenkan fo aye tena se be kase de somwo ayeme nantie nuaba maame Afumwaah Kafena mene
Ajwa nyako abronoma